Hi guys! Welcome to the channel. In this video, I am going to show you how you can use lightweight rendering pipeline and ShaderGraphs. The ShaderGraph is a new Unity feature. ShaderGraphs allows you to create cool shader without writing any custom shader. But ShaderGraphs is still in the development, so it only works with lightweight and HDR rendering pipeline. Here, I have opened a project. First, we have to import lightweight rendering pipeline. To import, go to Windows and open Package Manager. Then go to All and search for lightweight rendering pipeline and then import it. Now search for rendering pipeline core library and also import it. I have already imported them. The packages that you have just imported will appear under the package section in the project panel. To use lightweight pipeline, we have to create an asset of it. So, to create the asset, go to the asset folder and then right-click Create. Then in Rendering, select Lightweight Rendering Pipeline Asset. Now go to Edit and then go to Project Settings and open Graphics Settings. Here, you will see a slot for rendering pipeline. Drag and drop the lightweight rendering pipeline asset that we have just created. You will observe that our sphere just turned pink. This is because the sphere is using the standard shader, which is not supported in the selected pipeline. Now, in order to use the standard shader, open the Shader tab, go to the Lightweight Pipeline and select Standard Simple Lighting. Here, you can access the basic shader properties like albedo and normal maps. But now let's create a custom shader using ShaderGraphs. First, go to Create and then select Shader and select PBR Graph. Then create a new material. First, apply this material to the sphere. Now select the material and in the inspector, open the Shader tab. On the top, you will find the name of the PBR graph that you have just created. Finally, open the shader. Now, a new window will open. In this window on the bottom left, the final preview is shown. You can right-click and change the mesh type. Also, the PBR master node is where all the node and you can see all the properties like albedo, normal, emission and many more. You can use mouse wheel to zoom in and out, and Alt plus mouse click to move. From the panel on the top left, you can use plus icon to create properties. These properties will be shown in the inspector. You can directly change the color by changing the albedo color. But I will show you how to add a texture and normal to the object. Now, to add a new node, you can do right-click and then create node. Or you can press space to create a new node. You can see there are a lot of options to select from. To add a texture, I am going to create a new texture 2D property and name it to albedo. Then drag it into the workspace. Now, I can draw the node by using the mouse left click. But you can see, I can't input this property to the albedo because of the difference in the data type. Here, create a new node by hitting space. And then search for sample texture 2D. Then, drag the texture to the input of this node. And then feed output of this node to the albedo of master node. Now, from the property panel, you can change the texture of the property. Now in the preview you can see the result. Each node also have their own preview panel. Now I will do the same to add normal maps. I will again create a texture 2D property for normal. Then drag it into the workspace. Then again use sample texture 2D node to feed the normal texture property to normal slot in the master node. Now I will select normal maps, and you can see the final result in the preview panel. Now hit Save Asset on the top left, and head back to Unity. Here, select our material. You will see the slots for albedo and normal maps, with the same name as the properties that we set in the shader graph. You can add the texture and normal maps now. Now, I will show you how to add a glow effect around the object. First, hit space to create a new node. This time search for Fresnel. Then feed the output of this node to the emission of the master node. You can see we have the glow effect. But now let's add some way to control the color and the power. Now, delete the link and add a new color node and a new multiplying node. Remember, you can use space to make new node. Then fed the output of Fresnel and color node to the input of the multiplying node. You can see the result in the preview panel of multiplying node. Then fed the output of multiplying node to the emission of master node. You can now change the color of the color node to see different results. Save the asset and head back to Unity. Here, you can see the result, but we cannot really change the color and the power from the inspector. So let's add some property to access the color and power of the Fresnel. Now again in the shader graph, I will add a new color property. Name it a Fresnel color. Then I will delete the color node and drag this property into the workspace and fed its output to the multiplying node. Then change the color of the property to get the same effect. I can also change the power of the Fresnel. Now, I will add a property to change the power. This property is a vector 1 type. Drag this property into the workspace and fed its output to the power of the Fresnel node. Then from the property panel, change the default value to 1. Save the asset and head back to Unity. You will see 2 new properties will appear in the inspector, one for the color and one for the power. Now, you can use these properties to change the color and power. So now, I think that should be enough to get you started with the ShaderGraphs. Now you should play around with it and try to recreate effects. And on top of it, make sure to have fun. I personally think ShaderGraph is really a powerful tool to help game developers to create shaders much faster. I would love to see what you made using ShaderGraphs. You can tweet your work on Twitter using hashtag Unity3d. If you like this video and learned something new, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to support me making these videos, please check out my Patreon page.